The moment Ava opened the door, the world seemed to freeze. Standing there, drenched from the rain yet impossibly composed, was the man she had spent 23 years hiding from. His voice, when it came, was low, almost trembling, not with fear, but with the weight of long-buried truth. "I know, Ava," he said. "I know about her." And just like that, her perfect, carefully constructed reality began to collapse. They were just kids when they met. Ava Martinez had always been the quiet type, the kind of girl who spent more time with books than people. She grew up in a modest neighborhood just outside Boston, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs and slept through most of her youth. Ava never asked for much. She just wanted to escape the judgment, the silence, the feeling that her life was always on hold. Then came Daniel Reed. He was the new boy in school, the kind of teenager that drew attention just by existing. Sharp jawline, stormy eyes, a reputation that preceded him, but not the bad kind. Daniel was magnetic, the son of a well-known entrepreneur who had gone bankrupt and disappeared under mysterious circumstances. At 17, he was already a man shaped by loss, and that kind of pain was something Ava understood. They collided one afternoon in the school library. She was studying finance. He was pretending to, but mostly watching her from across the room. It took only 3 days for him to ask her out. It took 3 weeks for them to fall in love. And it took exactly 3 months for Ava's life to change forever. She got pregnant this summer before senior year. No one knew. Not Daniel. Not her mother. Not even her closest friend. It wasn't that she didn't love Daniel. She did, more than anything. But love wasn't enough when you were 17 and terrified. He had plans to leave town after graduation, dreams of rebuilding his father's empire, of becoming something more. She couldn't ruin that for him, so she let him go. And she disappeared from his life. The years went by faster than she ever imagined. Ava raised her daughter, Sophia, alone. She gave up college, took 2 jobs, and slowly rebuilt a world that no one could question. She told Sophia that her father was a distant chapter in a story not worth remembering. She painted over the cracks with bedtime stories and warm breakfasts. And Sophia never asked too many questions, not at first. Daniel, meanwhile, vanished into headlines. By the time Sophia was 10, Daniel Reed had already become a name that echoed in business schools across the world. He had launched his first company at 22, closed his first $1 million deal by 25, and built a $1 billion tech conglomerate by 30. He was the CEO everyone admired, ruthless, brilliant, untouchable. And still, Ava said nothing. Until the day the letter came. It wasn't the kind of letter you expect from a man like Daniel Reed. It was handwritten, ink smudged, his strokes uneven, as if his hands had shaken while writing it. "Ava, I don't know how to begin this. I found out, not everything, but enough. I know there was a child. I know you never told me. I want to see her. Please." Ava sat frozen at the kitchen table, her coffee turning cold in her hands. She hadn't heard from him in over 2 decades. How had he found out? Panic crept in like fog. Not because she feared him, but because she feared the storm that followed truth. How would Sophia react? What would she say to the daughter who believed her father never wanted her? She tore the letter into pieces that night. But Daniel Reed wasn't the kind of man you could ignore. The knock on the door came 3 days later. Ava wasn't surprised to see him. What surprised her was how little he'd changed. Sure, he wore the uniform of wealth now. Tailored coat, Italian shoes. That quiet confidence only the powerful possessed. But his eyes were the same. Wounded, angry, still waiting for the truth. "I want to meet her," he said, stepping inside without waiting for permission. "She doesn't know who you are," Ava whispered. "Then tell her." "It's not that simple, Daniel." He looked around the modest home, eyes pausing on the photographs lining the shelf. Sophia laughing on the beach, Sophia in graduation robes, Sophia holding a violin. She's 23, Ava. She's not a child. No, Ava said, but the lie is. Daniel's jaw clenched. You had no right. You had dreams, she snapped. You had your life ahead of you. I wasn't going to be the girl who derailed all that. So you erased me? I protected her. He stared at her for a long time, like he was trying to see through the years, through the excuses, through the guilt. I don't want to take her away from you, he finally said, but I need to know her, even if she never forgives you for keeping her from me. Ava flinched, because that was her deepest fear, not losing Sophia, but losing the version of Sophia she had shaped. I'll talk to her, she said, though the words tasted like ash. And in that moment, everything she'd spent 23 years hiding threatened to surface. Sophia was late coming home. The clock on the wall ticked with unnerving rhythm, each second echoing louder than the last. Ava stood by the window, arms crossed tightly over her chest, watching the rain streak the glass like tears. She had rehearsed 100 different ways to begin the conversation. None of them felt right. She turned as the front door opened. Hey, Mom, Sophia said, tossing her damp coat on the rack and setting her violin case down gently. You okay? Ava tried to smile. We need to talk, Sophia blinked. Is it about school? No, Sophia sat, her brow furrowing. What's going on? Ava sat beside her, fingers trembling. She took a slow breath. It's about your father. The silence in the room thickened. What about him? Sophia asked, guarded. Ava hesitated. I've never told you much. You asked once, when you were little, and I just ... I said he left, that he didn't want to be part of your life. And that was a lie? Ava nodded, tears in her eyes. He never knew. I didn't tell him. Sophia's voice dropped to a whisper. Why? You were a surprise. I was 17. He was barely 18. We were kids. He had just lost his father, and he was about to leave town. He had big dreams, and I was terrified. I didn't want to be the one who destroyed his future. You decided that for both of us, Sophia said quietly. I know, and I regret it every single day. Sophia stood, wrapping her arms around herself. So, who is he? Ava swallowed hard. His name is Daniel Reed. Sophia froze. The name wasn't unfamiliar. She'd heard it on the news, seen it scrolling across the bottom of financial programs, attached to words like visionary and CEO and tech empire. She'd even written a paper about him in college. You're joking, she said. No. He found out recently. I don't know how, but ... he came here. Sophia took a step back, as if distance could buffer the impact of the revelation. He was here? He wants to meet you. Sophia's expression was unreadable. So after 23 years of silence, I'm supposed to just sit down and get coffee with one of the richest men in the country and say, Hi, I'm the daughter you didn't know existed? He didn't choose to leave, Sophia. No, you chose that for him. Ava stood slowly. I know I broke something, but if I can fix even a piece of it, I will. Sophia stared at the floor for a long moment. Where is he now? He's staying at the Westmont. Suite 56. Sophia picked up her coat. The elevator opened with a soft chime, and Sophia stepped into the penthouse hallway. Her heart thundered in her chest, each step forward dragging the weight of 2 lifetimes. She wasn't sure what she was expecting. A dramatic confrontation, maybe, or an awkward apology. But nothing could have prepared her for what was behind the door. Daniel opened it before she could knock. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He just looked at her, eyes wide, breath caught, like he was looking at a ghost. She had his eyes. The same storm gray, the same unspoken sadness. "You look like her," he said finally. Sophia didn't know what to say. He stepped aside. "Come in." The suite was tasteful, modern, cold. She stood near the window, looking out over the city skyline. "I'm not here for a reunion," she said. "I just wanted to see you. Know you're real. I understand. I don't know what you expect from me." "Nothing," he said. "Not yet." She turned to face him. "You built an empire. You have more money than entire countries. You could have had anything, but you didn't have this." He nodded. "I've spent my whole life building walls. And now I find out someone was standing on the other side, the whole time." Sophia sat. "Do you hate her?" "No," Daniel said. "I loved her. Back then. I think a part of me still does, even after all this." "Then why didn't you look for us sooner?" "I didn't know you existed. She vanished. And I buried that part of my life." Sophia looked away. "I don't know what to do with you." "You don't have to do anything," he said. "But if you want to know me, if you're even curious, I'll be here. As long as it takes." She stood slowly. "One meeting. That's all I can promise." He smiled faintly. "I'll take it." Back home, Ava sat at the kitchen table again, the same coffee cup in her hands. Sophia walked in without a word and sat across from her. "Well?" Ava asked softly. Sophia looked tired. "He's not what I expected. He didn't yell. He didn't demand anything. He just looked like someone who missed something he didn't know he lost." Ava lowered her gaze. "I never wanted to hurt you." "You did," Sophia said. "But I don't think it was out of malice. Just fear. I was so young." "I know." Silence again. But not the angry kind, the kind that holds space for healing. "I'm not sure I can forgive you yet," Sophia said. "But I'm not shutting the door either." Ava nodded. That was more than she deserved. Meanwhile, Daniel sat in the suite alone. He pulled an old box from his suitcase. Photos, letters he never sent, a high school yearbook with a heart drawn around Ava's face. He stared at a folded note she'd written him once. "You make the world feel safe." It never had, not after she left. But tonight, after seeing Sophia, it felt like something broken might begin to mend. He opened his laptop and pulled up Sophia's university file. Her grades, her violin performances, her scholarship essays. She had done it all without him. But maybe now, it wasn't too late to be part of something real. 2 days passed. Sophia didn't speak much, not to Ava, not to anyone. She stayed quiet, distracted, practicing violin, pretending to study, but her mind was elsewhere. It wasn't just about Daniel being her father. It was about the void he had unknowingly left. And now, the question that wouldn't stop clawing at her. What kind of person could he have been to me? On the 3rd day, her phone buzzed. "From unknown, I'm playing in a private charity event tonight. It's a chamber performance. Would mean a lot if you came. No pressure." Sophia stared at the message. She had no reason to go. And yet, she found herself standing in front of a mirror hours later, smoothing her dress, her heart racing as she slipped her violin case over her shoulder. The venue was a marble cathedral turned concert hall. Warm lights. Velvet seats, the kind of space that echoed with elegance. She arrived early, unsure where to go, when she saw him. Daniel stood in the far corner, talking to a man in a tuxedo. When he turned and saw her, something flickered in his eyes. Not triumph, but relief. As if he hadn't expected her to come. "I didn't think you'd show," he said, approaching. "I almost didn't." He gestured gently toward the hall. "They have an extra violinist tonight. The original couldn't make it. I was wondering if you'd join the ensemble. Only if you feel comfortable." "You want me to play?" "I want you to be seen." Sophia hesitated. Then she looked around the hall, at the rows of guests, at the musicians tuning their instruments. She opened her case. The performance began with soft piano, then the cello, then Sophia. Her bow moved as if it had a mind of its own. Every note she played carried weight, not just of the music, but of years unspoken. Her eyes scanned the audience only once. Daniel watched her like she was the only person in the room. It wasn't pride on his face. It was something deeper, a kind of awe. When the last note ended, the applause was thunderous. She bowed, and for the first time in a long while, felt the warmth of being seen, not as a prodigy, not as a scholarship kid, not as a burden, but as someone who mattered. Backstage, he was waiting with a glass of water and a hesitant smile. "You were extraordinary," Daniel said. "I know," Sophia replied. Then she grinned. "But thanks," he laughed. "You get that from me." She raised an eyebrow. "Oh, really? I used to play guitar, badly. But I always made people listen. I'll take the musical genes, not the ego." They walked out of the venue together. He offered her a ride. In the back seat of the black car, silence settled between them. Not awkward, just heavy with questions. "You always wanted kids?" Sophia asked. He looked out the window. "I thought about it. After I made my first $1 million, it started to feel possible. Then I made my first $10 million, and it still felt far away." "Because of the business?" "Because I didn't think I'd be good at it." "Why not?" "I didn't have the best example growing up. My father was brilliant, but broken. He burned everything around him before he disappeared. I was afraid I'd do the same." Sophia leaned back, thoughtful. "Well, you've got 23 years of fatherhood to make up for." Daniel turned to her. "I'd like to try, even if it's just showing up when it counts." She didn't respond, but she didn't look away. Back home, Ava paced. Sophia hadn't texted. It was late. Her daughter never stayed out without saying something. Just as Ava reached for her phone, the front door opened. Sophia stepped in, and she wasn't angry. She looked ... full, like something had shifted. "He asked me to play," she said, setting down her violin case. It was a charity event. Chamber music. All the rich people. Ava exhaled slowly. "And you did?" "Yeah." Ava studied her. "How did it feel?" "Scary and good." "I don't know." He didn't push. He just ... made space. Ava sat down. "You look like him when you talk like that." Sophia chuckled. "Maybe I do." They sat in silence for a few minutes. "I think I want to get to know him," Sophia said finally. "On my terms. No rush, but I want to try." Ava nodded slowly. "I'll support whatever you decide." Sophia met her eyes. "You were scared back then. I get it now, but I need you to be honest from here on out. No more pieces missing. I promise," Ava said. And she meant it. Daniel didn't waste time. The next morning, Sophia received an invitation to his office. Not a dinner, not a suite. His world. The headquarters of Reed Tech Tower rose like a blade into the Boston skyline. Glass and steel. Power in every line. When she arrived, she was escorted by an assistant through a silent elevator straight to the top floor. The doors opened. Daniel stood waiting. "Welcome," he said, "to my other life." The office was vast. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Shelves lined with prototypes, awards, and forgotten coffee cups. A wall filled with photos of company milestones, but none of family. He gestured to a framed photo on his desk. It was a newspaper clipping. "Teen entrepreneur wins city startup challenge." Sophia tilted her head. "That's you." That's when it all started. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a silver necklace, a minimalist pendant shaped like a violin. "I had this made yesterday. I don't know if you'll want it, but ... it felt right." Sophia picked it up. It was simple and sincere. "I'll wear it when I play," she said softly. Daniel smiled. Later that night, Ava received a call. It was Daniel. "I just wanted to say thank you," he said. "For what?" "For raising her right. For being brave when I wasn't there." Ava closed her eyes. "You still want to hate me?" "I did, for a while. But I'm learning that loving someone sometimes means being left behind." They didn't say much after that. But for the first time in 23 years, they weren't enemies of the past, just survivors of it. Sophia sat in her room, the silver violin pendant resting against her collarbone. She hadn't taken it off since Daniel gave it to her. It wasn't about the gift. It was about what it meant. For the first time in her life, she wasn't wondering who her father was, or if he'd ever cared. Now she knew. And that knowing made everything else feel ... uncertain. She still loved her mother. She still had questions. And she still didn't fully trust what came next. Daniel, meanwhile, was changing. His staff noticed it first. The way he paused longer in meetings, stared out the window more often, smiled when he didn't think anyone was watching. The board assumed he was courting a merger. The press whispered about burnout. But the truth was simpler. He was thinking about Sophia. He was thinking about the 23 years he'd missed, and 1,000 different moments he'd never get back. Her first steps, her first recital, the time she broke her arm in 6th grade and cried through the night. He couldn't change any of it, but he could start showing up now. He invited her to dinner the following week, not at a hotel, not at a restaurant, but at his home. Sophia hesitated, then said yes. The house was nothing like she expected. Not a glass mansion in the hills, but a quiet estate nestled in the countryside. Modern, but warm. There were books in every room, art on the walls, no staff hovering, no suits, no guards. Just space and stillness. Daniel greeted her in jeans and a sweater. "I wanted it to feel normal," he said. Sophia smiled. "This is your version of normal?" "I'm trying." They cooked together, or rather he tried, and she corrected him every step of the way. He burned the garlic. She rescued the sauce. By the time they sat down to eat, they were both laughing like they'd done it 100 times before. "I used to picture this," Daniel admitted halfway through dinner, "not knowing what you looked like or sounded like. Just ... imagining." Sophia set down her fork. "What did you imagine?" "That you'd be strong, stubborn, smart. That you'd hate me at first." "I did," she said. "And now?" "I don't know," she whispered. "But I don't hate you." They finished dinner in quiet understanding. Later, they sat in the living room, a fire crackling softly. "You ever think about having more kids?" Sophia asked. Daniel tilted his head. "No one ever stayed long enough." Sophia looked at him. "I think you were waiting for something real." Daniel's eyes softened. "Maybe I was waiting for you." Meanwhile, Ava struggled. Every day that passed without Sophia needing her felt like a new kind of grief. She had built her entire life around protecting her daughter, being both mother and father, shield and home. Now that foundation was cracking, not because Sophia loved her less, but because Sophia was building her own identity, one that included a father. And Ava wasn't ready for that. One evening, Sophia returned home with news. "He offered me a position," she said. "An internship at Reed Tech." Ava looked up from her book. "Are you considering it?" "I think I want to." Ava nodded, slowly. "You're scared I'll drift away," Sophia said. "I'm scared you'll become someone I don't recognize." "I'm not replacing you, Mom." "I know. But I also know what it feels like to lose someone to that world. It's sharp, cold, hungry. He's not like that with me. No. But that world is." Sophia sat beside her. "I'm still your daughter." Ava touched her hand. "Then promise me one thing. Anything. Don't let success rewrite your heart." Sophia started at Reed Tech the following month. She worked under a different name, Sophia Martinez, and no one at the company knew who she really was. Daniel insisted on that. "You earn it on your own," he said. "That's how I did it." She didn't get special treatment. She got late nights, tough assignments, and the occasional silent nod from her father when she presented something well. That nod meant more than 1,000 words. They started having lunch twice a week. Sometimes they talked about business. Sometimes about music. Sometimes about nothing at all. But something fragile was forming between them. Not just a relationship, but a rhythm. And Ava, watching from afar, realized that maybe this wasn't loss after all. Maybe it was growth. One Friday evening, Daniel showed up at Ava's door. Unannounced. Nervous. She opened it, startled. "Is everything okay?" "I'd like to talk," he said. She let him in. They sat in the same kitchen where he'd once said, "I know about her." Now it felt different. "I owe you something," Daniel said. "An apology. A real one." Ava leaned back, arms crossed gently. "For what?" "For how I looked at you that night. Like you were the villain. Like you'd stolen something from me. You had a right to be angry. I had a right to feel hurt. But I didn't have a right to judge your fear. You were 17. You raised her alone. And you raised her ... perfectly." Ava's eyes filled. "I didn't feel perfect. I still don't. She's strong because of you. Brave because of you. Even her skepticism, that's you too." A pause. "I think we both lost 23 years, he said. "But maybe we don't have to lose the rest." Ava swallowed hard. "You think there's still something left between us?" "I don't know," Daniel said honestly. "But I'm willing to find out. Not for nostalgia. Not for guilt. For her. For us. For whatever this new version of family could be." Ava took a deep breath. "I don't know if I'm ready," she whispered. "I'll wait," he replied, "like I did before. Only this time I'll be here." That night, Ava watched Sophia sleeping on the couch, an open folder of Reed Tech documents across her lap. She was becoming someone new, someone stronger, but she was still hers. And now she was also his. Maybe that wasn't a betrayal. Maybe it was finally balance. The gala was massive. Reed Tech's annual philanthropic event had always been a spectacle. One of those opulent evenings that drew CEOs, politicians, celebrities, and press. But this year, Daniel wanted something different. This year, it wasn't about show. It was about presence, about legacy, about her. He walked into the venue with Sophia on his right and Ava on his left. The cameras caught the moment. Daniel Reed, the untouchable tech mogul, arriving with two women the world didn't recognize. The whispers started immediately. He didn't flinch. Inside, Sophia wore a sleek black dress, her silver violin pendant shining under the chandelier light. Ava stood beside her, elegant and composed, but unsure if she belonged. Daniel, for once, didn't play a role. He wasn't the CEO tonight. He wasn't the man with the empire. He was simply a father. As guests mingled and music filled the air, Daniel took the stage. He held a crystal glass in one hand, but he didn't raise it. Instead, he looked straight ahead. "I've built a company," he began, "from the ground up. I've made a fortune. I've won and lost. But none of those things compare to what I discovered this year." The room went silent. "This year," he continued, "I met my daughter for the first time. Not because she was lost, but because I never knew she existed." A ripple of gasps. Sophia stood perfectly still, every nerve on fire. Daniel didn't stop. "And I met again the woman I once loved, who made a choice I couldn't understand, until I saw the result of it standing in front of me." He glanced at Ava. "She raised our daughter alone. With strength, with heart, with everything I didn't know how to give. His voice faltered slightly. This night is no longer just about business or charity. It's about truth and honoring what matters most, the people who make us human. He stepped down and returned to the two people who had redefined his entire life. Back home, Sophia sat at the edge of her bed, still processing. "Do you think it was too much?" Daniel had asked her afterward. "No," she'd said. "It was exactly what needed to be said." Now, hours later, she opened her laptop and pulled up an old folder, her college thesis. It had been about identity and inheritance. At the time, she thought it was all theoretical. Now she realized it had been a letter to herself all along. She added a final line. "Sometimes the legacy we fear the most is the one we were meant to complete." She saved the file and closed the past. Ava, meanwhile, sat in the kitchen sipping tea. She still had doubts. She still felt the guilt. But she no longer carried it alone. There had been healing in Daniel's words, and something else too: accountability. He hadn't erased the past. He'd honored it. That mattered. Her phone buzzed. From Daniel. "There's an empty room in the house. The one that gets the most sunlight. Thought it might be perfect for a second violinist, or a writer, or you. No pressure." She smiled. She didn't reply. But she didn't delete the message either. Weeks passed. Sophia continued her internship and quickly earned respect. Not because of her last name, because of her mind. Her team still didn't know the truth, but her performance made it irrelevant. She wasn't just the CEO's daughter. She was herself. She and Daniel had developed a ritual: Friday lunches. No phones, no meetings, just food and conversation. Sometimes serious, sometimes ridiculous. They'd debate music and math, future technologies, and favorite childhood cartoons. One Friday, she asked him the question that had lingered since the beginning. "If you had known, if Mom had told you, what would you have done?" Daniel paused, chewing thoughtfully. "I'd like to say I would have done everything right, that I would have stayed, been there for every step. But the truth? I might have failed. I was a mess back then. Angry, grieving, obsessed with escaping. You both deserved better than who I was at 17. Sophia nodded. "I'm glad she waited," she said. Daniel looked at her. "So am I." The turning point came unexpectedly. Sophia was giving a presentation to senior leadership. It was sharp, innovative, bold. Halfway through, the room shifted, not with resistance, but with respect. She was no longer the intern. She was a voice. Afterward, Daniel found her in the hallway. "Do you want your name on it?" he asked. "Not mine, yours." She considered it. "Not yet," she said. "Let them respect the work before they know the story." He smiled. "Smart, like your mother." "I know." A month later, Ava made her choice. She stood at the doorstep of Daniel's house, suitcase in hand. He opened the door, surprised. "Hi," she said. "I wasn't sure you'd come." "I wasn't either." They stood there, quiet. "I'm not moving in," she said, "but I'll stay a while. See what this is." Daniel stepped aside, eyes warm. "The room's yours." Later that night, she unpacked slowly. She found Sophia's old drawings folded in a keepsake box. Crayon stick figures. A house with 3 people. She hadn't understood it back then. But maybe Sophia had always wanted this. Winter came. The city slowed under snow. And in that silence, something beautiful grew. A new rhythm. Mornings with Ava reading on the porch. Evenings with Sophia playing violin by the fire. Sundays with Daniel cooking pancakes he always burned. They weren't perfect, but they were present. Together. One night, as the fire crackled, Sophia turned to her parents. "I used to think family was about who stayed," she said. "But maybe ... it's about who returns." Daniel nodded. and what we do once we're here. Ava reached for both their hands. I thought I was protecting her, she whispered. You were, Sophia said. In your own way. And now? Ava asked. Sophia looked at them, two people who had been broken and still found a way to heal. Now I'm choosing to let you both in. Outside, snow kept falling. Inside, 3 hearts beat in unison, not in spite of the years lost, but because of them. It wasn't a reunion. It was a beginning. And beginnings, after all, are the most honest form of love.